still new to this, still true to this, and we're learning together. Anybody who's weirded out by breastfeeding, sorry, not sorry at all. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I have a special guest, Mr. Kai Guy. So I have Mr. Kai Guy here. We're filming our breastfeeding video today. And I know he's hungry, so I was like, why not just do it here? So I first want to start off by saying this week starts off, I believe it's August 1st through August 7th. It's Breastfeeding Awareness Week. I'm excited. I'm all about the breastfeeding, and if you click this video... Okay. Let me get him situated first. If you're debating on getting a boppy, get a boppy. You know what time it is. Oh, mommy gotta get comfy. Mommy gotta get comfy. So if you click this video, it's because you're interested in breastfeeding. You breastfeed, you have questions, you're a new mom, you're pregnant. There's a reason you're here. So I'm here for you. I went on Instagram and on my, I went on Facebook, Instagram, and like my YouTube community page, like I did a post on breastfeeding questions. I wanted to do this Q&A. I've been getting questions about breastfeeding, so I was like, I'd rather do a Q&A, that way I can answer everyone's questions all together, and I got a pretty good amount, so I'm excited to give you any information that I know, to share my experience and how it's been going these past few weeks. I'm 7 weeks postpartum. That's wild. So yeah, he's gonna be 2 months next week. I cannot. So I'm gonna pull up the questions and we're just gonna go one by one. I'm just going to, like, I guess give you like an oversight of the background really quick. So for one, hi, if you're new here, my name is Kayla. I am 7 weeks postpartum. My baby is 7 weeks old. His name is Kai, and he's the love of our life. And yeah, and I breastfeed. I exclusively breastfeed right now. So yeah, and I'm just want to give you a little insight and everything on how it's been going for us these past couple weeks, and how we've been learning each other, and all the pumping questions. Anything you got, I got you. When I got pregnant, like, I already knew I wanted to breastfeed. Like, that, I've always saw myself like as a breastfeeding mom. I wasn't opposed to formula. It's just that, like, my goal and my primary choice was to breastfeed, but of course I was open to formula, of course, if there was any like complications or anything like that like forced me to do formula. So I'm very grateful that Mr. has been able to latch from the moment he was born, and we haven't had any issues. So I'm grateful that I'm able to breastfeed, because that's what I wanted to do. And also, this video is just for informational purposes only. It's not, mind you, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a professional. I'm just a new mom who is figuring it out with her baby. I'm not saying like breastfeeding is the only way to do it and it's better than you. I'm not saying none of that. So I just want to put out that disclaimer. First question. When are you planning on stopping? At 6 months or 1 year? I've done 1.5 years. So for one, congrats to you, boo. 1.5 years is awesome. And as far as planning on stopping, the goal is to get to at least 1 year. I don't plan on stopping before that. Of course, if things were to like pop up and there's problems or complications, or if the doctor was saying like he wasn't like getting enough weight or whatever, we would figure it out. But my little chunky man is doing just fine. He loves the boobies, so I don't see us planning on stopping anytime soon, but I definitely want to get to at least a year. And as far as after a year, I mean, there's still a baby at 1, but we'll figure it out. But right now, the goal is to get to a year. Next question. How many ounces do you pump? I'm at 4 per session on each breast. So right now, I am exclusively breastfeeding. I haven't introduced the I haven't introduced the bottle to him yet. I do plan on introducing him to the bottle, obviously, because mom is going to have to be getting out the house and he's going to have to eat. But I haven't pumped yet, so I don't know how much per session he's getting. However, I wouldn't be surprised if it's at least 4. This is a tip and trick I recommend to you. I recommend a Haka. So a Haka is like a silicone like suction cup basically. So I would put that on the opposite boob of him feeding, and that would collect any letdown. Because if you don't know, when you breastfeed on one boob, your other boob leaks. It's like, okay, we're ready to like milk. And the most I've collected was like 3 ounces. Okay, so next question. Do breasts ever look the same after breastfeeding? I don't know. I'm still doing it. I've heard that they don't. I hear that they like get saggier and all that stuff, but I'm not like that. I'm not concerned about that. I feel like from the moment you get pregnant, your breasts can look different, or as a whole your body changes. So I don't think they'll look the same, but hey, you never know. And Mr. just passed gas. I don't know if you heard him, but I don't know yet. Ask me when I'm done. Does it hurt sometimes? Okay, so this is a great question, especially for new mommies and mommies who are about to give birth. So yes, it did hurt in the beginning, and it's not the fact that the actual breastfeeding hurts, it's the initial latch. I read that from the moment that your baby's born, if you request that you do skin to skin, if you do skin to skin immediately after your baby is born, it tells something in your brain to tell your boobies to start like producing milk. And it's just so amazing to me, like how we're created like literally to do this. Our bodies know what to do, babies know what to do. When I first had him, he latched immediately, and it was on my right boob he was on. And I remember he was on there for like 2 hours. Brand new baby, just on there 2 hours sucking. It is sore because your nipples are being sucked on for long periods of time, like throughout the day, and they just get raw. Thankfully, my nipples did not get raw. Like, I haven't had a raw nipple. In the hospital, they were sore and just like tender, so I would put like some nipple balm on them, but I never had like raw, cracked, bleeding nipples, thank goodness. But I do know it's very common to get that. So yes, in the beginning it does hurt, but I promise you, just hang on, you can get through it. Let it be a mind over matter type thing. Like, it hasn't hurt me so bad to where I needed to stop, but I do know that there's moms that had to do that. So everyone's different, because breastfeeding is not easy. Like, it's time consuming, it's a lot. You're literally like food source for your babies. I just want to say, like, don't give up, okay? Just try as best as you can. That's the best I can say. Now, he does have a strong latch, so sometimes I am like, whoa, buddy. Next one says, all the details, the first attempt at breastfeeding, how do you know if he's getting enough, etc. Okay, so I've kind of answered this already, but the first attempt at breastfeeding, we did good. So he came out, and they laid him on my belly, and then from that moment when they were like cleaning him up and everything, my nipples, y'all, I don't know if you saw it in my labor and delivery video. If you haven't watched it, go watch it. But my nipples immediately started getting hard, and they were just like tingling, just like, I remember saying like my nipples are on fire. Not on fire as if they hurt, they were just very tender, like immediately. And like I said, I hear that your body does that if once you do skin to skin, it like does something. So if you want to breastfeed, that's my first tip to you, to try that. And just let your nurses and them know like you want to do skin to skin immediately. They brought him over to me after they cleaned him up, and once he got in, he started going, and I was like, whoa. And as far as how do I know he's getting enough, he literally will like take it out his mouth. Now in the beginning, another great thing I liked was at the hospital they have lactation consultants on duty, like it's part of the whole like process, like postpartum process. And you know, they teach you how to like time it, and at first I was doing like 20 minutes each side. Now that I like feed on demand, he stops when he's supposed to stop. But yeah, he latched right away, and that's another thing, like, we're created to do this. Like, our babies are born, and like, you know, of course I know there's some moms or some babies who have like trouble like latching and things like that. That's actually very common. But it's also amazing how like there's some babies who just are born and they just know how to latch. I don't know. Juana asked me last night actually, like, how does he just know how to like do that, like when he's born? I'm like, I have no idea. So yeah, that's how I know he's getting enough. He'll just like spit it out his mouth. In the beginning they do feed every like 2 to 3 hours. Like, he still is on that. That might sound like crazy right now to someone who's not used to it, but I promise you, this whole motherhood thing, like, you just get it, okay? You just get it. Let me go to my YouTube question. So someone else had asked, when do you plan to stop breastfeeding? I already said that. Right now the goal is to go past a year, or go to at least a year. So anytime after that, like, I don't know. The next question is a good one. Do you think breastfeeding bonds you closer with your baby? Do you think breastfeeding makes your boobs more sore? I do believe that breastfeeding definitely bonds you, I don't know how to say closer with your baby, because like immediately you already have a bond with your baby automatically. Again, disclaimer, I know some moms, there's been stories where I've seen like some moms, like they didn't have that initial bond with their baby. So, and I don't know if they've breastfed, so I don't know if that makes a difference. But I feel like feeding your baby, period, is a special bond. Okay, he wants to lay. He's going to sleep. But I do think that there's a bond when you're breastfeeding your baby. Like, and when I say this, I'm saying it as like, I'm not saying like if you don't breastfeed, you don't get that same bond. I'm just saying like your baby literally needs your body to eat. So that right there, I feel like that's a connection, because your baby knows like, okay, I get my food from mommy. I know mommy's boopy. So that right there I think is the bond, but I don't necessarily think that it bonds you closer. Like, I don't think my relationship with him is any closer than it is with someone's relationship with their baby who is only fed a bottle or not breast milk, if that makes sense. I hope that makes sense. Do you think that breastfeeding makes your boobs more sore? Again, I already answered this. In the beginning, it's not that the boob is sore, it's that your nipple is sore. Like my boobie will get sore because it's full, and you can literally feel like it'll feel hard. Like you can feel like hard pieces in your boob because it's just full. Now, because I breastfeed on demand, I don't get that often at all. What was I about to say? I forget what I was about to say. Holy Spirit, please help me remember. Oh, latching, tip and trick that I've learned. And I'm gonna list all of the accounts that like have helped me in the description box on Instagram. Instagram is a great resource. There's so many resources out here for breastfeeding, if that's what you want to do. But I learned from one page that a bad latch causes breastfeeding to hurt. So it's not supposed to hurt when breastfeeding. And that was one of the main things I learned in the beginning, from like when I was still pregnant. So if your boobs or nipples are hurting while your baby is eating, it's most likely because they have a bad latch. And I've learned that a good latch is to like tickle the top lip of your baby's lip with your nipple, and then they should like. The next question, was it hard for you in the beginning of your breastfeeding journey? It's not that it was hard, it's just like, I don't know, I'm trying to be as realistic as possible. It wasn't hard because it was something that I wanted to do really bad, actually. And so like I was just so happy and grateful that I'm able to. When you know that you are the sole like provider for your baby's food, like that right there is just like, is the focus. Like I was more so focused on like, I need to make sure he's eating, but because I haven't had any issues with him eating, it hasn't really been stressful. Now I can't say like, say if he was having trouble latching, or if we did have trouble with getting him to eat off the boob, I'm sure that could have been hard because it would be stressful, but because I haven't had any issues, it was not hard. I will say the most difficult part of it was, in the beginning, was getting up so often, or just say if I finally fell asleep at night, and then he wakes up because he's wanting to eat. So it was hard like getting up and like waking up to like feed him, but not only in that sense because I'm sleepy, if that makes sense. Someone commented baby blues. I don't know if they're asking me, do I get baby blues, or if I have them. But no, I don't. If you pump as well, how many times a day do you pump, and for how long? I don't pump, not yet. Now, I do want to answer that though, because when I do pump, it'll be only for the days that I'm gonna be gone for a few hours. So I guess I'm gonna say like, I'll pump as I need to, if that makes sense. But I'm not pumping because I want to exclusively breastfeed. So it'll only be like, if like for instance, I'm getting my hair done next week, I'm gonna pump just so he can have food for when I'm out the house. And for how long? It'll probably be like 20 minutes on each boob. You already have a freezer stash. I do have a freezer stash. It's from when I was using the Haka. It was probably like 5 or 6 bags of little ounces of milky. Which wearable pumps would you like to try if you don't have them already? I would love to try the Mom Cozy like hands-free pumps. The pump I do have is a Spectra one. Now that one is one that you can like, it's mobile so you can carry it around the house without it being plugged in, but I do want the one you put in your bra, the Mom Cozy one. Just because it's the most affordable out of them all. I believe they can get up to like $600, $700. What advice would you give future moms who plan to breastfeed their baby? So my top advice would be to get a boppy. I freaking love this thing. It's so helpful. My arm has gotten like toned, y'all. Get a boppy or something. Use a pillow if you don't have a boppy, but it's so helpful. Boppies make it so much comfortable. Like when I'm at my mom's house, for instance, and she's like holding him or rocking him to sleep, and I'm like, here, you want the boppy? She's like, this makes a big difference because it's a exercise, and he's a hefty little baby, so he's got some weight to him. My boob is still kind of like full, but it's not hurting, but it's like tingling because it's stimulated right now, I think, because it knows that he's right here. But so get a boppy and be patient with yourself and with your baby. So like I say, it's not easy, and I've heard a lot of stories where like moms, you know, have trouble, you know, breastfeeding their baby, or that it hurts. Just be patient, and there's so many resources and, you know, outlets here that can help us. And also our generation, I think it's more leaning towards breastfeeding opposed to like our parents. I'm a 90s baby. I was formula fed. My sister was formula fed. My boyfriend, he was formula fed. Like there's so many people I know that were formula fed, even now today. But the older generation, they're not used to breastfeeding moms now, in a sense. I guess that makes, if that what I'm trying to say. So I remember in the beginning every single day asking me like, is he eating enough, da 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 da, blah blah, and that can be kind of like overwhelming for a new mom. Like, set your boundaries with people is what I'm trying to say. Let them know like, hey, I got this, my baby's good, the doctor said he's gaining weight. Your baby's doctor isn't concerned, you don't need to be concerned as far as like eating or your baby eating, and nobody else needs to either. But I remember getting a lot of like, you know, family members were just like, and of course they come from the best place ever, they just want to make sure you and baby are okay and that the baby's getting enough. But because in their mind they're like, how do you know your baby's getting enough if he's just on the boob? But set your boundaries is what I'm trying to say. Don't let people discourage you or place their, you know, negative or bad experience onto you, because everyone is different. Do you feel that breastfeeding can make being a first-time mommy a little more difficult to get used to? Again, everyone's experience is different, so it didn't make my first time experience being a mom difficult to get used to. My camera stopped recording, sorry. But I was saying, I'm sure there's some women who, like, if you did have trouble breastfeeding in the beginning or a little difficult. I was talking to someone yesterday on Instagram, and she told me how she had really bad, she told me she had postpartum depression with her first child because her milk supply had dropped, and that it caused a lot of like stress on herself because she put a lot of pressure on herself. So I'm sure that made it difficult. So again, everyone's experience is different, and as far as a little more difficult to get used to, I can't just go somewhere with him and not expect to feed him while I'm out. So that is something to get used to, knowing that you're gonna have to feed your baby regardless of where you are. But again, my focus is on making sure he's getting what he needs. So anybody who's weirded out by breastfeeding, sorry, not sorry at all. Are you afraid of how your breast will look after breastfeeding? No, I'm not. Again, I went into pregnancy knowing that your body changes, so I'm not concerned about how they'll look at all because I'm not trying to impress anybody. Now, if it comes to a place where I'm like not happy with how they look, that's just something that I'll deal with if that happens, but I'm not afraid of how my breast will look after breastfeeding. What advice would you give first-time moms about fear of having loose skin afterwards? Again, as far as the aesthetics, if that's something that you're afraid of, just know that like your body changes altogether while pregnant and after pregnancy. Some women is different, but a lot of the times your body does change. I'm just gonna have to get a push-up bra. if they're like saggy and like loose. Just don't focus on the aesthetics part. Like, you've already made it to pregnancy, you already had your baby, so if you already are accepting of the fact that your body changes regardless, and it's for the most beautiful cause ever, like your child, don't let the aesthetics discourage you of this beautiful gift of being able to feed your baby. What are your views on nipple shields while breastfeeding? Now, I'm not gonna lie, I'm not really sure and too familiar with nipple shields. Let me look it up, hold on. Oh, okay, it says it helps infants with trouble latching onto the breast. If it's helping you and helping your baby and it gives you a peace of mind, I'm all for it. That's something, if I had problems, I would probably use a nipple shield. How do you get your milk supply to stay consistent? So this is a great question. So I feed on demand. I saw this Facebook post, I'm gonna link it down below, and it like talked about how feeding on demand is like the best thing for your baby, but I can just attest to it because my body is producing the exact amount that my baby needs. Like, I haven't had any trouble with like getting my milk supply up, but I think that me feeding on demand is what helps my milk supply. And feeding on demand means like just whenever your baby shows any signs of hunger, any hunger cues, feed. And I learned hunger cues in the hospital, which is like when he has his fist balled up and when he's like literally trying to, like, if I'm holding him right now and he was trying to, like, he does that, like trying to eat from the side or sucking on his hands, any type of like sucking or anything like that, I know he's hungry. But yeah, so I feel like feeding on demand has helped my milk supply stay consistent. Do you use nipple cream? If so, how does it work? I have used it. So I used it when my nipples were sore and just like really sensitive and like to the touch. I would put that on there to calm any like pain or discomfort. Do you think you would use formula for Kai? I'm only 7 weeks in, so God forbid, like, you know, I run into any issues with feeding him through my breast, I will of course use formula to supplement for food if my baby wasn't getting enough food. So I would use it if there was any issues and if I was forced to use it if we weren't doing good as far as breastfeeding. Since you have been breastfeeding, have there been any challenges or obstacles? No, thank God. There have not been any challenges or obstacles. The only thing I can say again is sleeping in the middle of the night and having to wake up out of my sleep to feed him. At this point, I'm so used to it, but and he sleeps pretty well throughout the night, but waking up out of your sleep to feed and burp can be a little, like, especially in the beginning. Burping is like, especially like if we're both half asleep and I'm feeding him, and then it's like, okay, so now I gotta burp him. That just adds like a little extra time before you gotta go to sleep. But that would be the only thing I would say. What made you want to breastfeed? So, but I saw multiple times since I was little, like I've always dreamt of being a mom, stay-at-home mom actually. I've always dreamt of being a mom, and I just already knew like breastfeeding was like a natural like thing that comes with it. So because I was so open and excited for pregnancy and to be a mom, I've just always thought it was so cool to breastfeed. Or the fact that your body even produces milk and food for your baby is like wild to me. So I don't know, I've just always saw myself doing that. Like, but yeah, that was all the questions. I enjoyed that. Thank you so much for participating in my first Q&A of all things breastfeeding. I want to say congrats to you if you are a mommy. Congrats to you if you've breastfed and it didn't work out. You tried, mama. And I'm proud of you, and I just want to say congrats if you're about to have a baby, if you just had a baby, just congrats to you, boo. Congrats to freaking you. But yeah, I hope I've given a lot of information, the best that I could. I'm still new to this, still true to this, and we're learning together. And I just want to say again, just be patient with yourself. Take advantage of this time to like read up on like all your resources. I follow multiple Instagram pages that give breastfeeding tips, and just be open-minded. Set your boundaries, girl. Please set your boundaries when it comes to other people. You and your baby are learning each other. It's new to both of you, so just, and then as far as your partner, like Quan has been such a great support system breastfeeding. I'll be like, say if I'm super tired, I'm like, here, I just fed him, can you burp him? Like, just make sure you set up a great foundation for yourself and your baby. And by doing that is to set your boundaries and just learn and be open-minded and just be patient with yourself. Like, you were literally made for this. And if you are a mama who's had trouble breastfeeding, after you've tried and, you know, you've done all that you could, it's okay to formula feed. Like, it's okay. As long as your baby is being fed, that's all that matters. I freaking love you guys. I hope I've helped you out. And if you have any more questions, feel free to freaking, I don't know why I'm saying freaking, but if you have any questions, feel free to comment down below. I'm an open book. I'm gonna help you as best as I can. I'm still learning myself. If there is something that you want me to clarify more on, comment down below. I will respond. And again, my DMs on Instagram are always open too. But yeah, I love you, and I will see you in my next video. Let me know what you want to see next. I still want to film my nursery must-haves. But yeah, I love you and happy Breastfeeding Awareness Week. Love you.